So these are Pioneer Cross 12 CRSS12 hybrid turntables. They can output a control vinyl tone without the tone arm on the record because they have these mag bell clamps, which is similar to the Rain 12s, especially like the MK2 where it can output like a tractor or Serato tone depending on what you want. But what I like about these is they're actually real turntables. They sound amazing on the analog part. And they have some cool functionality if you hook them up via USB. So you have audio going to your mixer and then USB-C going to your laptop, which you can start doing some like pad assignment stuff that you might be used to with like a CDJ or HotQ stuff too. And you also get more info in the screen there. Just to jump to it, I'm using the free plan. This video is about using Rekordbox with the XONE PX5, which is not listed as a supported mixer for Rekordbox, but it does work. And so this is how to use DVX with a non-Pioneer mixer as the sound card. And I'm also using the free version, but I'm able to use DVS because I have these Pioneer Cross 12s, which unlock DVS functionality in Rekordbox. I'm pretty sure that was like another reason that I bought these, was that I knew eventually I'd be using Rekordbox as my software. I was using DJ Pro, which has been amazing. But now that all the integration is in Rekordbox and Rekordbox can do cool things like control lights and also just sync with my USB sticks and everything, this is the way to roll. So I kind of wanted to make a video here. I didn't see one online. It took me a little bit of time to try to figure out what was going on, of basically using like an Allen and Heath mixer or a non-Pioneer mixer with DVS. So here's how I did it. Pretty simple. I think the important thing too is to read the instructions for your mixer of just like, what is the timecode setup? So in this case, the key was to make sure you have your back switches set to phono, not line. So it can actually pick up the tone that would either be coming off your control vinyl or in this case, generated right from the mag bell clamp. And then in this case, you also wanted to put all the switches, which are here. This is one reason I really like this mixer. Not only does it just sound awesome when we're actually playing real vinyl, but it has this really cool switch here where you can just go directly from analog right to USB. It doesn't really affect the computer because the switching is happening on the mixer side. So the computer doesn't really notice. It's not like it's shutting off the USB connection or anything like that. It's just changing the routing of the audio signal. So it says, make sure all your channels are set to USB. And then this is the setup here for tractor. Okay, so it's saying set it up as the audio device. And then A is going to be 3 and 4, B is going to be 5 and 6, C is 1 and 2, and D is 7 and 8. So to give you an idea of what that's talking about, normally deck 1 and 2, a DJ would play with just these two. These are just used separately. So the setup is A, B, C, D. And there's actually like a good photo here of like how it looks, A, B, C, D. So that's why the audio routing is 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8. So yeah, reading the manual for the mixer that you have, if it talks about how to set up DVS, that was actually worthwhile. Just to get the audio channels in the right spot. So now I'm going to go over to Rekordbox. and it says free plus. The thing I was talking about, at first I couldn't figure out why it was not working. And you do have to have one of these turntables connected to the laptop with a USB cord. Even though they were both registered in my Pioneer account, everything started working once I connected the one of the turntables to the Rekordbox on USB. So the way I have it right now is I've got a USB cable coming out, and I've got my that's the USB-C, like what do you call it, hub. All right, so once I connected one of the turntables to Rekordbox, it says, hey, would you like to hardware unlock? We see that you have this registered in your account, and then everything works. So I guess the first step actually was to register your products on your Alpha Theta Pioneer DJ account with the serial numbers. So I just did my XDJ, put that on there. And so now when I log in, I can see my products. Should probably do it from my lighting interface too. Why not? But yeah, the second half of that is then actually physically connecting the hardware via USB cable to Rekordbox. So in this case, the turntables, they function totally fine with just an audio connection to the mixer. But in order to get the DVS to work, I actually had to plug one of them in on USB. So I don't think DVS would work on a free plan. Again, I'm not subscribing to a Rekordbox plan. I'm on the free plan, but it upgraded me from free to free plus once I plugged in one of my turntables on USB. So that was pretty cool. But I guess if you don't have a Cross 12, you would either have to pay for an upgraded plan in Rekordbox to get DVS support if you're not using a Cross 12, right? Because for the hardware unlock to work, it needs to see that product via USB. It would be nice if I don't have to connect a USB cable every time, but it appears now that I kind of permanently hardware unlock my Rekordbox software, but it appears that it's just not working. So that I just have to plug in the USB cable. I'll kind of show you. Well, let's just go into the audio setup first. So I went into preferences, right? And then the first step is to go to audio and choose your mixer, which on Mac, again, please don't use a Windows machine if you're doing music. Just don't even try. Just get a cheap Mac. It's gonna work right out of the box. I was a PC guy for years. I wasted so much time when I could have just used a Mac and it just worked. So get a Mac. And thanks to Steve Jobs for saving us from the dystopian world of just Windows. XONE PX5. Okay, now it's going to be our sound card. And then I go to input output, and we're going to go back to what I was talking about before with the setup instructions that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8. And that's because you're going to use these two channels as your kind of deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, deck 4. Okay, so back to Rekordbox. 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8 for input, and then the same thing on output. 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8. And I didn't have to do anything else. Output preview, don't need that. I'm also in configuration, or maybe it's on input. Yeah, mixer mode is going to be external, right? I've saw some videos of doing like mixing mode internal and then using your mixer to like map MIDI data. So like if I moved this fader, it would move the fader on the screen. That's like how I use like my BCD 3000. It's basically just like a USB MIDI controller. Like you could use that thing to edit video. You know, that's what one thing I was thinking was using the control wheels to scrub video, like we used to do on the old when I had to was editing videotape back in the day. You know, it was linear editing. Just gonna stir my soup here. You know, the best thing about like doing linear editing on video was that you had that really cool kind of like scrub wheel and you could just like scrub frame by frame. The toughest thing about editing on a laptop or on a phone is just like you can't go frame by frame to like set your endpoint of like where you want the cut to be. I mean, you can, but you have to like really zoom out, and it's tough to scrub. So I was always thinking like, hey, I could use my BCD 3000, this little tiny DJ controller, to also like control video, because in the end, it's just a MIDI controller. With the sound card part is totally separate. So yeah, we're using external mixer mode. Basically, the sound is outputted to this, and this guy decides what to do with the sound. You know, there are workarounds where you could basically like have your mixer control Rekordbox internally, but that's not what we want. We want to use the sound card over here, not the Mac sound card. So external mixing 3 4 5 6 1 2 7 8, and then the thing that confused me was I had enabled DVS function. I could turn this radio button on, right? But when I would play something, I would have no signal. So let me unplug the USB from the back of this. Okay, so unplug that, and I'll just basically like show you like what it looked like. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to preferences. Enable DVS was on, audio still PX5. Okay, so let's load this guy. Well, I'll show you. It just doesn't work. I can control it on the screen, right? And so like this kind of goes back to like if you had like MIDI control of the jog wheel, which is the way I think the old the MK1 reins used to work. They were basically just jog wheels that were the size of records. We don't want that. We want to do it the right way. We want to use, well, I guess in the end, sending a tone signal to the software, it just then interprets that as a MIDI signal. So in the end, it is just a jog wheel. But if you do it the correct DVS way, there are some really cool things that you can do where you can just switch right over to phono and play a record directly. You shut off the output there, and then the mixer instantly turns into an analog system. So that is the difference of setting it up correctly. But so even though the DVS radio button was on, when I tried to choose relative or absolute, they were locked. Okay, so, and then also like when I would go into preferences, like even though the audio is working correctly, because like here, I'll just show you. So it's outputting a tone right now. I don't need the record on there. If I put in phono, you can hear it. So even though like this channel is going in, when I would go over to DVS, I had no control signal there. Even though DVS was on here, it allowed me to activate it there. I couldn't get the circles there. Like other software, it would be listening on that input, 3/4 channel for this record player, and you would see the calibration thing, which I'll show you there. But the key is that if you go to this little button, DVS was still locked, okay? Even though I had the turntables set up with my account. So let's plug this guy in, and I'll show you what happens when it sees the turntable. Okay, I just plugged it in now. Oh, there was a little change there. Okay, so now it just changed and actually automatically switched over to relative. So now it's unlocked. Again, I'm still on the free plan, but that was a hardware unlock. I plugged in the USB cable, and then also now suddenly my pads work, and then I have more information on from the Rekordbox software. So now let's switch over to USB. And it's working. And then if I go back to the preferences again, and I just look at the control, there it is. And if I hit start and calibrate, zero out my thing, the calibration goes right through. Bing, now calibrating, complete. So, for anyone out there who, in my case, like I have the XDJ XZ. I didn't think it made sense to get like a standalone DJM 900 mixer, right? Even though that's because that's essentially what is in the XDJ. Like it's the feel of that mixer. It's like, why would I get another one? Even though I really like the filter is like really easy to use. The effects are really easy to use. We're used to like the way that looks. I wanted to get an Allen and Heath because the Zone 92 and the Zone 96, are used for techno a lot. And so I wanted like some experience with the Zone. I don't really like the filter just because you can't like go down and then up. You have to kind of like switch between it. Like, yes, I know you can activate these all at the same time, and kind of shape. It would be nice if like you could like latch the different positions. Maybe I'm still learning. Listen, it sounds great, but it's just functional wise, it's just not what I need. But I will say, I think this mixer sounds phenomenal, especially like when we've just done, we switch over to just analog, and we're playing analog vinyl. And the coolest thing too is like, I can be mixing DVS. We do that one switch over to phono. We drop the needle down, shut off the tone output from the Pioneers, and then suddenly you can play vinyl there, and then I can just unplug the laptop and get it out of the way, and we can do an all vinyl set or mix and match. So yeah, I mean, the more I like learn about the Zone, I think it is actually great for vinyl. Some people say like Allen and Heath mixers are they just sound better than a Pioneer when you're using vinyl, because something about the Pioneer mixers, they cut out certain frequencies that you need to have when you play vinyl. Yeah. So maybe you're in the position that I was in where, you know, you want to use Rekordbox, you don't want to pay for DJ Pro, you know, you and you've ponied up to buy the best of the best turntables, the Cross 12s, right, that are out that can do it all. And since you did that, you're like, hey, I think I should get Rekordbox DVS control, on the free plan, right? Agreed. But I don't want to use a Pioneer mixer. And I don't know if it really even would make a difference if I plugged in a Pioneer mixer, but there's just no support for it. But it's super simple. Just use the instructions that are in the Zone manual to set your channels for that. Deck A is going to be 3/4, Deck B is going to be 5/6, and that's all you really need to do there. Unlocking the DVS functionality in Rekordbox is more complex. It either requires you to purchase a plan or plug in a USB cable and register your product. Got it. That's an important step. So, anyway, pretty happy about this. Think I'm going to play around a little bit. I just think the coolest thing about putting in the effort to use Rekordbox as your software, even though I think it's been correctly dubbed like the Outlook of the DJ world. Because it's a clunky software. It's not very intuitive, things like that. It just is the industry standard, even though we have now one library, which is going to be great because then guys and gals with Denon USBs or whatever, can waltz in and plug in their USB, and it's going to see everything on a CDJ. Love it. I think it's great. CDJ 3000X or the AZ are the only ones that can support that. But we're moving in the right direction to kind of like standardization. So not only for like the analysis of your music, and now Rekordbox supports Apple Music and Spotify integration, which is awesome, and Tidal and Beatport and all these. It's doing it all because DJ Pro was way ahead of them with that. Also with stems, now Rekordbox has got the stems in there, which is sick. But I just think the coolest part, totally underutilized part of Rekordbox, especially if you've got you need to have a laptop connected. But the gig I play every week, I use my Cross 12s and a laptop. It's kind of open format, but heavy on the house music and EDM. So I need that. I'm playing all from straight out of the cloud on their Wi-Fi. So, I'm using a laptop, fine, but if you're using the laptop, you can also control the lights. So I think what I'm going to do now, just before I kind of put everything away and move on to the work I need to do with the XDJ, is do a DVS set with my simple 6 lights setup. And that is just so exciting to me because Rekordbox now is analyzing the music for phrasing and then using that phrasing to control your lights. And it's just going to get better and better, as the AI analysis, not just like, oh, here's the break and here's the BPM, but like really kind of understanding like what genre the music is. The lighting control is just going to get so much better. And I think eventually that phrasing analysis will be exported to your USB sticks. So if you're playing on a CDJ, it could be sharing that phrase analysis directly with the lighting software. So it's a super exciting time to be in this business right now. Just like the availability of the music and the ease of sharing the music, and but most importantly, as AI kind of makes us feel worthless in a sense, right? Like, what skill do I have that the AI can't do better? Like, what's the point of me even existing? Kind of depression, community, real human connection, real organic mixing, kind of leading the way, beat matching by ear that you can only learn through vinyl, all this stuff, but most importantly, like the party production, right? Creating a beautiful vibe with beautiful lights and great sound systems and great equipment and great music, is going to be the key to world peace. Simple as that, because we don't want people fighting over perceived scarcity. I'm going to eat my soup now, but I did want to, share how I got DVS working with my Allen and Heath mixer. In this case, the Allen and Heath mixer was not the problem to unlock DVS. It was actually either paying for the plan or hardware unlocking, which requires that USB connection. And I think now that I know the benefit of using a USB connection, which is only for the control stuff, the audio still goes out on that RCA, even though we're doing, vinyl control. If I unplug those audio, the DVS will not work. So to properly connect these, you really need, that USB and the RCA connection. I had heard about that before, but I was just kind of worried that I didn't want them to become controllers, and that's just not the case. They are turntables with a smart, with like a control connection, right? Which is just for your pads. And if you really want to know the BPM, it's there. Yeah. But anyway, grateful to be able to do this and excited for the parties that we're going to have and the great music and great times we'll be able to share together because of it. All right. One love. Peace.